Hey, today we're going to bring you another conversation with Nick and Jeremy on things that are relevant to you in life, leadership, and business from a biblical point of view. Women's liberation movement. That's today. Was it a win? Was it confusing? Where are we? Right now on Leading Forward.
All right, Jeremy. Well, another hot topic, another week of getting into the grind of real issues about what's going on in life, leadership, business, whether it's impacting the economy or it's impacting our home. And today you've thrown out this bomb on talking about the women's movement. Well, I'm ready to go ahead and put that on you, all right? Because you started us off. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today on Leading Forward with Nick and Jeremy. We are talking about hard topics. We hope that you like this one, that you subscribe, that you continue to follow us even after. If you're doubting, listen all the way through.
That's
I
right.
believe we're going to bring you some great content for today that really is helpful in every area of your life.
That's our prayer, man. And so far, I think it's going well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what's not going well, Nick? Filling up our gas tanks right now, man.
Man, everything is
We're just
expensive.
talking about it.
Everything is expensive right now in life, isn't it? I mean, just everything from Iran to what's going on in our economy, what feels like is all your money's going towards groceries and gas, right? And those are real things impacting real people in the world today. You know, I was having a conversation with a pastor last week before we even get into the topic for today. I was just having this conversation, not with a pastor, with another man, great man.
Okay.
And he just said, why is the church so silent about everything that's going on in war? It's the only thing that really matters right now. And I think there's a temptation to look at the economy and look at war and almost take our eyes off Christ.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And our purpose, our passion, what we're really called to. And so just in that, I just want to give a warning to people. It is hard. It is difficult. You're feeling it. I'm feeling it. We're going through these things. Business owners are feeling it. And it's more important than ever that you keep your eyes on the prize.
That's good, man. Good reminder. Need to do that every single day, especially when it's scary.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's scary.
Yeah.
Good word, Nick. Well, hey, man, when we're talking about women's liberation, we always want to start out just a little bit of what are we talking about? Is it the same thing as feminism? Where are we? What is liberation of women in context of our conversation today? Like, just give people a little bit more shade.
All right, so we have to start off with our point of view.
Let's do it.
We're men, right? We're going to look at this from a certain lens. But as men, what we have is amazing, godly wives.
It's a good place to start.
And so
right,
huge shout out to Leslie and Perry for being these amazing, godly wives. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are absolutely amazing. Who we've actually had these conversations with before today and been able to talk through these things, talking through the spiritual implications, the economy implications, and at every level. And so I have 3 daughters.
Yeah, man.
In no way is this conversation about making women less. It is about understanding God's unique calling, gifting, and purpose for their life.
And helping to, as we coach them up. You know, I have one daughter, and we're trying to help them think the right way, which is biblically, on any topic. And this is a relevant topic for everybody. So women's liberation, can we just start by saying that the idea of equality of both sexes, not any sex, both sexes.
Because there's only 2.
That's right. Is righteous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, when we're talking about human dignity, that's a no-duh thing, man. If you're kind of hearing, you're jumping in like, what are they possibly going to say? How can you attack it? That's not going to happen. But we're going to evaluate the effectiveness, and
what did it actually
what
accomplish?
Is the cost? Yeah, what was the goal? And I think we'll start here today, and then we'll kind of back up to the origins. But today, there are a lot of organizations, professional and not professional. But if you go to their mission statement, that will tell you a lot. Well, number one, about a company, about an organization of any kind. And I think it's safe to say, Nick, what we're saying today is generally the idea of the why behind today's feminists are very different from that of the origin of the women's movement.
Yeah. Okay. So the origin. So
Yeah.
when
Let's talk
you're
about it.
as you're doing your research, kind of what did you find as the origin for this?
So a lot of people will say 1960s and 70s, that's where the movement became public and had a voice. The TV was a thing, so like there were very well-known people, works of writing, speakers. Who was it Jimmy Carter who was the president at that time?
Think so.
Yeah, he was addressing
before
it.
us.
Yeah. I think he actually was till 1978 or 79. So maybe we caught some of his era. But he spoke out on it. So a lot of people think that's kind of when it got a voice. And I would say I agree with that. But it goes back further. A lot of people will say late 17th century. I think you're going to talk about somebody here in a little bit because I don't even know her name. But sort of has been dubbed kind of like the mother of the original movement.
Yeah.
All the way back to then.
Yeah. So
what do you think?
When I was thinking about it and found some research and was just looking through this, and we want to be informed on these things, so we're not just shooting from the hip. We're actually bringing
and we're
good
not
information.
the experts.
We're
on
not
this.
the experts. No,
we're just having a conversation about the relevance and impact of it today.
So when I started thinking through it and just praying through it, and we really do pray about these things, and for our topics and how does this impact? How do we want to communicate these things? That we want to communicate truth. We want to communicate in a way that connects with other people. And so when I started thinking about it, and where did this all really start? I had to go all the way back to Genesis.
Yes. Okay,
and it's really Genesis chapter 3. The serpent said to the woman, "Did God actually say, 'You shall not eat of any tree in the garden?' And the woman said to the serpent, 'We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it lest you die.'" So she adds a little part there. Verse 4 says, "But the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good from evil.'" What he is saying is God has suppressed you. God has confined you, and I want to give you freedom. And so this women's lib movement started with Eve.
Okay.
And it wasn't just for a women's lib movement. It was this lie in the garden that said, God hasn't given you everything. I have something better for you.
Yes. You've been suppressed. You've been held captive in some ways, and it's all about freedom.
Yeah, and everything that God does, Satan counterfeits.
That's right.
And so when you continue to go down and you look at what happens as a result of the fall, to the woman he said, "I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." So there is a consequence that comes from this deception, that there is part of the curse. Now, man's curse is directly in the ground, in his work, in his relationship with God. No longer does he walk step with God, but now he's removed from the garden. And so this liberation movement, at whatever level, at throughout time, goes back to a deception of the enemy.
Yeah, that's so true, man. That's so true. Okay, so when we're thinking about from a biblical lens, that makes good sense to anybody with 2 ears, right? I get it. That was the message from the enemy from the inception of that relationship. And it's the same stinking message today that people are just eating up. The lie that order and organization and priorities are bad if they're established for you, and that you need to reject it. And I think that's probably the general loud message from modern liberation of women's movements, which are very blurred now. In their defense, listen, it has become something else. So like there are a lot of great, this is my assumption. There are a lot of like people that still are about, making sure that there are spaces for women to have a voice, and they may be associated with some of these organizations, and there may be some great organizations out there, but I would just caution if you are, it's probably a diluted message. The louder message now is something completely different.
Yeah, and I think we want to be careful, and actually not careful. We want to clarify here. The message of Christ, Christians have created more freedom for every single person than any other religion ever.
Yep.
Right? And so that in Christ there is freedom, true freedom, not this freedom from what you think is oppression, but real freedom. And so when you look throughout history,
that's right,
what the movement of Christ has done, what the movement of the church has done, has brought freedom for people at all levels.
Yeah.
So I know you want to get into some history. I think it's important that as we talk about this, I have to continue to go back to my wife. Okay, so we've been married for 23 years. So what are we talking about? About women working, about women's role in business, what's their role in the church, all these. We've been married 23 years.
She's a heavy hitter too.
3 years. 3 years of 23, I've made more money than her. So I have a sugar mama, okay? And I'm aware of that. And it's an amazing blessing. My wife is Dr. Edwards.
That's right.
She is smarter than me. She's brilliant than me. She's better than me in every single way. And I am highly blessed and favored by God because of her. When you look at these things and we understand these roles, understanding that she could be independent and everything about her wants to be independent.
Yeah.
She actually had someone give her advice. I think she said she heard this in college, that women, before you're married, you need to have 3 months of living expenses put in a separate account that no one knows about so that you can leave at any time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the women's lib movement. That's the freedom from saying, I don't want to be under the oppression of God. I don't want to be under the order of God. I don't want to be under the protection of God. I wanted to do it my own way.
Now, when I hear that, I affirm everything you're saying. There's part of me that's just curious, because that word independent, my wife was raised, Perry was raised by her amazing mom to be just that, to not depend, never depend on a man, never depend on, like literally. And that was kind of the message of the era.
Sure.
And the personal experience of the person is relevant, and it has it weighs in. But that was the message that she heard. So for years of our marriage, maybe this is going to make somebody's palms itch, ears burn. For years of our marriage, one of the struggles in our marriage was really ultimately under the umbrella of the role that she was now called to be in and to live in partnership with me. God does not call us to be independent. He calls us to dependence on Him and interdependence with one another, especially in marriage, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so when you look at this, a lot of people, when I was researching and looking at it, talk about the impact of this was really the beginning of the dissolve of the nuclear family.
That's right.
And this was one of the biggest things. There's even things from the Rockefellers that talk about this doubles the GDP, because now you can have 2 people working and now you can double the tax.
Yes. And cost of living has fluctuated so that's like necessary in today's economy.
But when you go through this, what you see is that through these movements, it did not create freedom. It just created a new boss.
That's right. I think it's fair to say, let's talk about the original intent of the movement: equal opportunity, equal pay, things like this, right? Access to education and careers. And I'll say this, I don't have all the data of the marketplace today. I did read that, no, I'm not going to say that because I need to go back and make sure I've got it in my notes. But equal pay, that's still a conversation.
Sure, yeah.
That's relevant, and it should be relevant. And what's also relevant is impact of role. When you're talking, let's go business for a second. In hiring, we have to be super careful. We got to be thorough. We got to be methodical.
Yes.
And when you're hiring for a role where you need certain attributes displayed, I think it's okay to say this. Women have certain general, innate, beautiful, God designed qualities and abilities that generally guys don't. And Absolutely. I might have a role, and I have had roles where I'm like, dude, a woman would make a great blank or fill this, like I need a woman to be able to do this. And then I've had roles where it's like, man, I need some guys to be able to speak into this. And it may not just be a role to hire. It could be a pastoral opportunity or conversation that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And it's bringing in a different perspective, a different understanding, a different point of view in order that you can create something best for your team.
That's right. And that they're heard differently than us. It's just people, we hear a woman, perhaps, good, bad, or indifferent, a woman, when she communicates something, generally might do it a little differently than a man would to another guy.
Yeah, and absolutely, our wives are, both of our wives are absolutely amazing. They have amazing voice. They have an amazing ability to be able to speak and to lead. And I've told you this before, going up on stage with your wife standing next to you, there's something very powerful about it. Yeah. And so being able to do that in such a way that people see your wife in this role as a pastor's wife that has influence and has impact on the church that you lead.
It's worth saying that our reverence for our wives, our honor, and it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Right? Love and respect. You got to go back to that book. It's fantastic. Biblical concepts. But the way that we honor one another says so much. Like you're doing right now, like we've done before. When we're making a point because they are amazing. So while we can have this conversation where it's like, it seems like, hey man, are we critiquing this movement? Well, sure, we critique a lot of things. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, it's our belly button, man. We got one, we got an opinion. But what we're trying to do more than that is have the conversation, but keep coming back to Scripture and what does the Word of God guide us to do, direct us, command us to do. So I think
that's good, and that's what we talked about. This uncompromised leader. Yeah, that it's not about me. It's not about my own desires. Yeah. It's about what is the truth, what is right, what is holy and pure, and then what we've talked about, that leading forward is leadership through the lens of faith. Yeah, that it guides us, whether you're leading $1 billion company, you are working for someone else, you're a pastor, you're doing whatever it is, that your faith dictates and directs everything about your
100%,
life.
100%. Has it been effective? Let's talk about that. Has the women's liberation movement of the 60s, let's just say 60s and 70s, where we're talking about civil rights and career and all the conversations around those kind of things, has it been effective? I mean, it depends on who you ask.
And it depends on what you clarify as the win and the goal.
Yes. Generally, have women obtained better career positions, rights, platforms, positions, what else? I mean, from the original intent. Yeah. I'd say generally, yes. In fact, I was listening to a doctor at NYU, and they were talking about, somebody said when they were interviewing them, this is probably 15, 20 years old, they referenced Jimmy Carter. And they said, Jimmy Carter said that misinterpretation of select Bible passages has been the root of the need for the women's liberation movement. And this professional, she was probably 80, she said, I would sharply disagree with that. My paraphrase, I sharply disagree with that. Or no, she said, that wasn't a very sharp assessment. How do you explain what's happening globally, historically? Like if we're talking about Christianity in the United States being, misinterpretation of Ephesians 5 or any other passage being the root of the women's liberation movement, that's just not the case because it's so widespread and it has been for so long. And I think it goes back to exactly what you said, Genesis 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's this desire to roll over your husband, but he will roll over you. Yeah. And no one likes to hear that. No. So, when you talk about was it effective, did it make an impact? Sure, it made an impact. Yeah. Was it effective? Well, effective determines what the goal was and what the win is. And so, I heard this thing a while back, and it was talking about, it's these two women talking, and one of them's very conservative, and it said, would you let a man tell you what to wear? And The lady said, no, I wouldn't. Would you allow a man to tell you when you need to be somewhere and where you need to go? Absolutely not. Would you allow a man to tell you to bring him something to drink? Absolutely not. And the lady goes, you would never do that for your husband, but you do it for your boss every day. Mm-hmm. You just changed who you submit to.
Wow.
And so this idea that I don't want to submit, you're always submitting to someone.
True.
It doesn't matter what level. The CEO of a billion-dollar company submits to someone.
That's Ephesians 5.
Absolutely.
Ephesians 5 says, submit therefore unto one another.
Yeah.
Submit unto one another, man. That's love.
Yeah.
That's like I can't just drive negotiations and I'm not, like a business deal. If you're in business, there is submission. You don't always get your way.
Never.
So to your point, man, we're constantly submitting in some ways to someone.
Yeah. That Ephesians passage is submit to one another out of reverence for Christ.
That's right.
And then the next verse is, wives, submit to your husbands.
Yes. But we don't go back and
it's that previous verse that there's a little paragraph break right there that really makes the difference, that it is a submitting to one another.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we go here now. The marketplace, since we're talking about Ephesians 5, wives submit to your husbands. It does not say women submit to men.
That is correct.
It is not a blanket statement.
Absolutely
so
not.
I've heard this very rarely, but someone will either have a position on this or they'll ask a question, because both women and men have misinterpreted this. It does not mean that you can't have a female boss. It does not mean that women cannot be, this is Jeremy interpreting scripture to the best of my mentoring and discipleship. It does not mean that we cannot have women as leaders in certain positions in the church. It does not mean that. We're going to have some examples of that, actually.
Yeah.
But what it does mean in the context of marriage, specifically one woman submitting to one specific man, because relationship matters.
Yeah, and I heard it years ago that anything with more than one head is a dragon or a beast, and so there can't be more than one head. There has to be something that's leading. And this is not the destruction of the nuclear family that happened. It's not about the family. Mm-hmm. It's about God's divine order.
That's right.
And so when we make it about the family, we actually make it about something that we wanted to make it about. Mm-hmm. And what we're really saying is, I don't want to submit to God's divine order.
Yes.
Whether that's the abusive side of a man who says you're going to submit, it's the weak, submissive man who is Ahab. Either way, that there is something unhealthy, that you're not living in submission to the divine order of God. Yeah,
there's a lot of fear there too. I think people are afraid of losing rights and position. And, maybe it comes from a good place, but man, we make so many decisions out of fear. Yeah. It's important for us to talk about two streams, right? So equality stream, that's expanding opportunity, removing barriers, elevating dignity. And that happened. That has happened.
Yeah.
And equality is fantastic. And then the ideological stream. And that's where I think most Bible-believing Christians probably have a point of contention with, because it goes into generally the ideological movement of disempowering men, which I think I made that word up right now. We're continuing. Taking power away from men, dissolving the nuclear family, and elevating to supremacy the sex of woman and the position of woman. I mean, there's this whole movement of like, we do not need men. Like, freeze all the eggs and let's.
Yeah, which was just absolutely absurd.
It's crazy.
It's saying, I don't believe that God knows what's best.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And so whether it's the elevation of women in order for men to decline, that's that passive, weak man who sat there and did nothing. That's part of the problem in the fall in Genesis 3, that Adam was there.
Yeah.
It says that she took of the fruit, ate it, and gave it to her husband. So there's a role for men to be able to lead well. Now, here's what I heard in the church a lot growing up. It's okay for women to be the pastor, the leader, if there's no man to lead. I don't think that's the case. There's not an exception clause.
Right.
And this isn't a contract negotiation, and subset B, point 3 says if this. It is saying this is God's divine order. So how does that play out in the business world? And how are we, and you started to go there with this, how does this play out in who's your boss and how you submit to that leadership?
Yeah. That's really, it's two separate realms. When we're talking about, because there's the marriage and family realm, and the Bible has organization and headship for that. It also has that for the church. But the marketplace is different. The marketplace, I mean, everything's in God's reach.
Economy. Yeah.
Power, sovereign control. Yes. And in terms of how you organize your business, how you hire, there's very little. There is, when we talk about Jethro and Moses and how Jesus separated people in groups of this, and look at his apostles and how he structured in 3 and 12, there is some. But you're free to promote, to hire the best qualified person for the position.
Yeah.
Period. And as long as we're able to do that, any of the noise around liberation or voices that are coming up in your workspace, maybe that's happening, and you got all this chatter going, and it's like, is it possible you just made a bad hire and you have a toxic turd on your team that needs to be released to their destiny? It's very possible.
Anywhere else but here.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So making sure that you hire the best person.
Yeah.
Man or woman.
That's right.
Race, whatever. Do they believe in our same core values? Do they want to go where we want to go?
Yes.
And are they the best person to move us forward?
Right.
Now, that's within the business world. What you talked about is home and church is different.
Yep.
They're all under God's economy and God's sovereignty, but how those leadership roles play out is much different.
Yeah. Good. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm going to go to another tab and take a second and figure out where we want to go.
So I'll tell you this. I looked up and just seeing how God has used godly women to be able to run business, to run organizations at the highest level.
Absolutely.
That are godly women, not this feminist movement of I don't need man. I looked up some of these. I should have verified these a little bit better, but Lindsay Snyder is the billionaire owner and president of In-N-Out Burger.
Okay.
Substandard burger. Okay. So, but it has nothing to do with her. They have integrated spiritual things into everything that they do. Joanna Gaines, Magnolia, co-founder of Magnolia brand and everything that came along with that. The former CEO of Popeyes, Cheryl Balkhelder. You have women leading at the highest levels.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're saying. Can they lead, and will they lead in a way that still honors God?
Yeah. Dude, I love it. I love the idea of my wife getting the same pay, getting the same access, the same healthcare benefits as a man in the same role. Absolutely. There is no logical person is going to argue that unless there's an argument that I can't even think of right now. Nobody's going to argue that, man.
But they're different.
Yes.
Equal, but different.
But different.
And different gifts, different strengths, different abilities.
Yeah.
And making sure you have the right person in that role.
I mean, just like, let's take the armed forces, man. Let me go there. You know, we talked about on our DEI episode, which was so fun and just good. And if you didn't watch that, go back and watch our one on DEI. But in a similar way, you look at like who the NBA drafts. They're going to draft for the right talent, capability, character, all that, and not just based off of sex, gender, anything. So I was going somewhere with that, and I distracted myself. What you got, Nick?
I was waiting.
Hey, no, we were just talking before
I will tell you. Okay, so I'll throw 2 more out at you. And then I think it's going to go where you want to go on this. What we do see is Lydia, who is in Philippians. She's really the place where the church in Philippi started. We got to go in October last year. I went to Turkey and Greece. Me and Leslie did, and we had to go to the place where Lydia was baptized.
Okay.
And so just seeing the impact, it talks about that she sold purple linen and she sold these purple goods, and it showed there's a level of wealth that the church met in her home.
Right.
And then you see the woman in Proverbs 31, and I think that you were going to talk a little bit about that there is qualifications for women's leadership.
That's right.
And so when we take it outside of God's realm and we say, I don't want to submit to anything, then there's problems.
Yeah, that's right. That's good, man. And I'm going to read this. It's Proverbs 31, verse 25. I'll read it. And then, man, this is what the Lord put on my heart from this. One verse. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. You think about that, man. For me, as I read that, I think about Perry. I think about Macy, my daughter. Mm-hmm. And as God, through this text, gives whiffs of, this isn't the go-by for you need to be this if you're a godly woman. This is like, man, smell this. Did you catch a whiff of that? This is the aroma of what's capable in every one of my daughters. And so the value that God is articulating here of what his daughter is capable of is striking, and it's
absolutely
humbling, and it's attractive. And I think there is also a real caution to look at that text and measure yourself against each one of those. That's like me going through Proverbs and saying, this is a general guiding of wisdom principles.
Yes.
And this is a general, aroma of a godly woman.
I think you said it says she laughs at tomorrow.
She laughs. It's coming. She sees it and she's able to laugh at it.
That means that she's not afraid. She's not worried. She's been diligent in every area of her life. And she has a level of faith that God is always faithful.
That's right.
You know, when we think about this, ultimately the goal in these is to bring hard conversations to the table.
Yes.
To talk about hard topics that are impacting your home, impacting your community, your church, and your business.
Yeah.
And when we avoid hard topics, then it lives in the dark, and monsters live in the dark.
That's right, man.
And so when we shine light on it, it means there has to be some conviction. There has to be some evaluation. There has to be of everyone's heart through this. And so I think the feminine movement, I don't even need a man, women's live movement, and the suppression of strong men have had a huge impact.
Yes.
We have to be men of good character. We have to be men who lead, me and you, men who are listening to this, and at the same time, at the same time, honor women who God is using in great ways.
Absolutely. We need to, you cultivate what you celebrate. It's also said the other way. You celebrate the things you cultivate. And when we see women who are crushing it for the kingdom, who are killer moms, who are amazing wives, like we need to call that out. We need to affirm that in front of their kids. We need to tell that husband, like in an appropriate way, like, man, you are blessed like me. We have wives that are amazing. And I think that honors God.
Absolutely.
It elevates a woman to the rightful place where she is a partner with her husband. She is a monster in the marketplace, whatever she is, man, we say, go girl. Yeah. Do we even say that anymore?
I don't think so.
No, I heard this other one. It was slay queen.
So there is this whole boss bee and these other terms that really are degrading to women themselves, and they take on those terms.
Yeah, so I was having fun with it, but you're right, man.
No, it's funny, not funny.
Right. I know.
So these things are important, and we want to continue to be able to have these hard conversations and bring and shed light on hard things through the lens of faith, through the Word of God into the real world.
That's right.
So, hey, thank you so much for
fun.
joining us today on Leading Forward. Hopefully you watched it all the way through. Hopefully you were encouraged by this. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow. Make sure that you get this podcast every week right there in your inbox. Make sure that you're checking it, and then share it with someone. Share it with someone who this would encourage them. And just know we've got more coming next week. Continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to get better, and always lead forward.